A big hello and a very warm welcome to MasterCard presents the Living Room Conclave, the India Financial Series. Today, I have with me a very special guest. He's one of the finest marketers in the world, and I've interviewed him several times as recent as last month. And the funny thing is this marketer actually is a B2B marketer, but the kind of explorations and activities that is done in the marketing arena for this particular brand is just mesmerizing. And a lot of companies or brands which are consumer facing must take a leaf out of their notebook. On that note, I'm happy to have with me today Raja Rajamannar, the MasterCard Chief Marketing and Digital Officer, as well as the Communications Head of MasterCard Global. Thank you so much, Raja. Once more, truly a pleasure. You're just making news all the time.
Thank you, Sonali. Firstly, it's always a pleasure to have this chat with you. And, we're really delighted with the kind of momentum our brand is having at our marketing activities are actually getting us. So very grateful and really excited to have some chat with you on this.
So let me dive straight into the big news that you've announced, which is that, you have partnered and you've got this title rights for all the BCCI homegrown home plate matches for the next 6 months, and you're taking over from Paytm. Is this your first innings and your first kind of, touch with cricket?
See, after I have taken over at MasterCard as the Chief Marketing Officer in 2013, this is our very first big one that we are doing. During my tenure, we have also done a couple of things. We were sponsors of Team Australia for a while. We're also sponsoring the West Indies T20. So we have sort of got our feet a little bit wet in cricket. But this is our real first big significant move.
But why cricket, and why particularly with the BCCI? Of course, we are the largest cricket association in the world. But what is the strategy here in terms of your flirtation with cricket, and what is the key strategy here for the Indian market?
Yeah, so first and foremost, having grown up in India, playing mostly gully cricket, literally, the passion that people have around cricket is unbelievable. It's one of the most significant passion points. And within India, I would say it's almost like a religion, right? And it unifies everyone, and it's a brilliant platform. And the scale is absolutely humongous. If you look at the scale of cricket globally, it's only second to soccer. And we at MasterCard are already playing a significant role in the space of soccer. So we said now the time is for us to get into the next biggest one, which is cricket. So this is one part as to why cricket. And the second part of it is, as far as India is concerned, this is one of our most strategic markets that we are investing in. And we are vested in its positive future and to really grow with the country. And from that perspective, we are getting very active in India as we speak. And this is a first big move that we have got from a sponsorships point of view, from consumer and customer engagement point of view, and bringing priceless to life in the context of India and what Indians really care about.
Right. And I want to just join that with your whole priceless, proposition that you've carried. I know that you've got into music in a big way. We just saw you drop your album at Cannes this year, in partnership with Spotify. I know previously you've talked about the big culinary experiences you give for your customers as part of the priceless proposition. There is travel, and now there is sport, and especially cricket. How will Indian consumers here be able to, kind of experience this priceless proposition that you have so carefully crafted as a very integral part of the MasterCard branding?
Yeah, so firstly, from our perspective, the way we are looking at it is, look at as many areas of consumer passions that we can curate and create priceless experiences for them, which is our consumers and our customers. So we typically look at 10 different passion points. Sports is one, music, cinemas, culinary. Then we have got shopping, travel, philanthropy, art and culture, sustainability, and so on. So we got and health and well-being. So when we look at all these, we try to bring to life at least 3 or 4 of these to life in every single country that we operate. So sports, we are making our first big move. We have played in the past a little bit and tested the waters with movies. So I can hopefully expect some stuff in the coming years in that space as well, because again, cinemas, having grown up in a city like Hyderabad, which is particularly movie crazy, and we would literally want to see every cinema released every Friday, first show, and so on and so forth. So I know, again, the passion runs very deep in the cinema area. So that's an area we would definitely love to explore. Likewise, music. And you're absolutely right. We started developing our sonic branding centered in music, in the science of music, and in the passion of music. And we're doing tons of stuff, like including the releasing of this album. And also in the past, we had some, what do you call, activities that we have done, initiatives to test the waters in India. So all these things we hope to bring to life in the coming years. And this is not just like an overnight do something, but this is something which we go in very thoughtfully and very methodically and in a very, very consistent manner, so that we are playing for the long run and not just to sort of create a splash in the pan or a flash in the pan. So this is how we are approaching it. So India being one of the priority countries that we have significant priorities, you will see some good action from us in the coming months and years.
Tell me, Raja, what kind of value addition is BCCI bringing to MasterCard with this contract?
See, firstly, we are privileged and really honored to have this partnership, right? When you are showing, MasterCard brand alongside BCCI and as the title sponsor, that in itself is a huge privilege that we are inheriting, and we are very grateful for that. And when consumers start seeing MasterCard brand concurrent with the area that they are most passionate about, they see the brand coming to life. Plus, also, it's not just slapping our brand out there, but it's actually bringing our brand to life and curating these experiences and connecting people to their priceless, what is priceless to them. So that's what is really going to be very exciting for us. Normally, if you're trying to do something in an area that consumers are very passionate about, consumers feel very good about it. They are fans of cricket, and when they see MasterCard in support of cricket, hopefully their predisposition towards the brand will only start getting better and more positive. And that's what we have witnessed around the world. And we are bringing the lessons that we have learned in various countries into India now. And this is what you will see taking root and taking shape in India. And I'm very personally very excited about it. And like I said, cricket is something which I follow very passionately even today. So this announcement for me is personally very special from that point of view.
Of course. And, I know your modus operandi. You won't just have a partnership where you just have your logo slapped on and that's about it. I'm sure you have some innovations. And tell me, I know you're very passionate about sonic branding as well. And you believe that, every brand serious about their brand recognition in the future need to invest in it. And you've invested heavily in it. How will you kind of incorporate the sonic branding during the matches, when we see the next game?
Yeah, so that's where we're actually having a lot of ideation and brainstorming as we speak, trying to see how we can get our brand be heard, not just be seen, when consumers are there, whether they're at their home, which is actually the vast majority of the engagement happens via TV or via radio, so people are at home. So that's where probably 95%, 98% of the population is engaging with cricket. And there are fortunate few who are in the stadium. So we are trying to figure out which is the best way that we can have that kind of a connectivity with the consumers and bring our brand both visually to life as well as through audio to life. And that's exactly what we are right now brainstorming. And hopefully we'll have a few good ideas in a couple of weeks, and then we'll go live with those as soon as we are comfortable that we're in a good place.
Raja, this is a 6-month partnership with BCCI, 6-month contract. Are you kind of testing the waters with BCCI before you look at a full-blown commitment with the Cricket Association?
So for us, what we are playing with right now is what is available to us, right? And when we were told that there's an opportunity to sponsor the 2022-23 season, which is for the next 6 months, we just jumped on it. Now, the fact of the matter is BCCI is a tried and tested entity, and they have been holding these partnership, the cricket matches, and bringing it to life in India and abroad brilliantly. So we don't have to test them out. And what we have to test out is only in terms of how we are able to actually leverage this extraordinary platform that gives you a scale, that gives you the right emotion, and it gives you the right kind of association with what consumers and people truly care about. So it's not about like testing waters. And what we are doing is we are looking at what are the available opportunities. And right now, the only available opportunity we had was to sponsor it for the next 6 months. And that we have gratefully sort of grabbed. And here we are.
I also said this initially in my introduction, that, and I've said it many times in the past, that despite being a B2B marketer, your focus on your end consumer is so deep and so passionate. I mean, after all, you are an payment enabler. But despite that, your focus on the end consumer is so sharp. Can you explain to my audience who may not know where you're coming from, why it is so important and why you find it so important for MasterCard, whose direct customer is actually the banking industry, plays so hard to lure and get the attention of the consumer and please the consumer in all possible ways?
Yeah, I think that's really the crux of it, right? Which is, in a traditional sense, we used to distinguish between B2B marketing and B2C marketing. And when you talk of B2C, it's all about, engaging the consumers, getting them excited and be more human. But when it came to B2B marketing, suddenly you became very stiff, you're formal, you're logical, you're operating with information and facts and so on. What we fail to recognize is that people are people, whether they are in the B2B context or they are in the B2C context. So what we talk about is it is human to human marketing. It's not B2B or B2C. So we try to go and reach consumers, people, in terms of their hearts and minds, and try to create the right impact. So the first way I look at it is, am I having a schizophrenic existence where, as Raja, the person, I behave in a particular way, and when I go to my office, suddenly I have a different personality altogether? The fact is, the matter is, I'm one. I'm in different contexts, which put in different variables and parameters that I have to work with. In case of consumers, I'm the funder, I'm the gatekeeper, I'm the influencer myself. Whereas in case of a corporation, I might be a financier in some case maybe I'm an influencer. So we need to understand the role that people play in their corporations or in their companies and tweak, but you are still basically operating on the human emotions, their aspirations, their apprehensions, and so on and so forth. So this is what we actually play. Now, the second part of it is, you're absolutely right. We are not a direct-to-consumer company. When we are dealing with our customers, we try to visualize ways in which we can make them more effective of how they can connect with their consumers. So when we are creating a whole cricket package, for example, of experiences, we go to our clients and say, hey, we have curated and created all these things, how we're taking part of it, and then actually bring it to life through your customer base. Your brand benefits, my brand benefits, but at the end of the day, it is the consumer who benefits. When consumer wins, my client wins. When my client wins, I win. So it's all sort of very beautifully nested and interconnected. And so my customer's success is also, in some sense, my selfish interest, because my success as a company depends on the success of my customers. So this is how we look at it. And most of the times what happens is, when we are competing for business with our clients, we want to go with a value to them that is uniquely being made available by MasterCard.
Raja, the pandemic gave, digital payments a big impetus. I want to understand from you specifically for the Indian market, how did it play out in terms of the digital transactions, actually people getting more comfortable with it, more trust, in terms of making payments, because that was a big issue in India. Plastic was still looked at as untrustworthy. I'm assuming we have made that taken that leap of faith and made that change. But given the fact that there's been a burst of wallets, and UPIs and all of that's come into play, how is MasterCard fared? I would say, if you compare it to 2019 versus where we stand today in terms of consumer behavior actually using their cards.
So in fact, Sonali, what typically happens is, when the industry is working to change consumer behavior as individual companies and brands, or collectively as an industry, there is a consumer behavioral shift that happens. In this case, embracing digital forms of payment. Now, what happened is per force during the pandemic, because people couldn't go out and do shopping and all that, they were forced into literally doing everything remotely, whether it is online shopping, online working, online learning, and so on. And online commerce is completely facilitated by digital payments. So the secular growth has suddenly taken a step jump. And there have been estimates which said that what would have taken about 7 years during normal course of organic growth has got accelerated, and it was shrunk into a matter of 1 to 1.5 years. So it is a tremendous secular growth step jump that we have seen, which is really good for the entire industry. And from a consumer's perspective, they have started realizing, like, I'll tell you, in my own case, I have been in payments industry for God knows how long. And I used to use my online commerce or online purchases only for certain kinds of items. So I was doing e-commerce, but only for specific categories. During pandemic, for the first time, I started buying vegetables and fruits and groceries, which I was never there before in that category at all. So for me, it is, for people like me, it was the extent of utilization of digital payments in which areas you would use them for. And for many other people, and of my own friends and relatives, it is for the first time that they got into e-commerce. And initially, there's a lot of trepidation and apprehension. But then once they get used to it, they try it out. They say, oh my God, this is not as crazy as I thought it is. Then there is a comfort, and then there's a reassurance that this is pretty safe. And that has given a tremendous impetus to the entire industry. And MasterCard was also a beneficiary of the secular trend that has happened. And what we have been trying to do is to, obviously, we keep our network extremely secure. We try to make the experience as seamless as possible. We also have started incorporating in several countries our sonic branding. So when a consumer's transaction goes through successfully, they hear a sound, that's a MasterCard brand. We call it the acceptance sound. And when they hear that, they know that the transaction has gone through safely and securely. Now, when we started this effort, we were targeting to have 5 million points of interaction over 3 years. But we have already crossed 270 million points of interaction. And a large part of it is thanks to the fast digital adoption that happened in the consumer space. And this is happening across the world. And the number that I had given, that is a global number, not just India specific number.
I'd be curious to understand. I mean, you operate in, global markets and very advanced markets. Compared to that, we're still, I would say, a nascent market when it comes to, digital payments. We're just getting our act together. So for MasterCard, India as a market, I would assume would be a small market. But I see a sudden interest in actually developing this market. Has there been a change in strategy in terms of looking at India as a key market, despite the fact that its base might be quite small?
No, actually, if you look at the potential part of it, India has got one of the highest potentials, right? Both in terms of not just because the population is huge. In addition to the population being huge, India's population is also very young. So if you're really wanting to stay alive and successful into the future, there is no way that you can ignore India. Many of the countries in the world, their population is aging. So when you look at the future, it is the countries with young population are the ones which will give you the biggest growth opportunities in the future. So India, you cannot ignore. That's number one. And but irrespective of what the current scale is, India is a gigantic opportunity for every single company, every single category, bar none. So this is one. The second part of it is Indian consumers, actually, I would say, since probably the 1990s, they have been getting so digitally savvy. And in fact, some of the functionalities that you find in mobile phones in India are actually not even there in the United States at this point in time. Like dual SIM cards were there in India quite some time back. The kind of phone functionalities and the functionalities of the mobile phones, etc., were far, far superior than what they have been. So the point is, it is not that India is backward across the board. There are some areas India has been ahead of the pack, and they had the advantage too to leapfrog some of the legacy systems. Now, so when you take countries like the United States and UK, etc., the so-called Western and developed economies, they have infrastructure, and that legacy infrastructure with the technology advances, they have to redo the whole thing, which is pretty expensive. Whereas countries like India, which did not have that kind of a base before, they could just straight away go and launch the latest and the greatest. And that's a huge advantage. And India is actually getting into that kind of an advantageous situation more than ever before. And that's something which is very, very exciting for us.
So can I then assume that apart from this BCCI, sponsorship that we've just seen, we're going to be hearing a lot more interesting experiences coming from the MasterCard stable for Indian consumers?
That's the aspiration, Sonali. In fact, as I said, this is our first big move that we are doing. And when we get in, we don't do it in a sporadic fashion. It'll be a 360 kind of an approach, very thoughtfully, and in a very coherent, cogent kind of a way we approach the market. So we are looking forward to with a lot of optimism and excitement about India. And what we did successfully in several foreign countries are some things which we would like to take the best of those and then bring it to India. Again, this is not an overnight journey. In the coming months and years, you will see things happening. So what we do believe is when you're getting in and doing something, do it right. Even if you take time, take it, but absolutely do a damn good job. So that's what the emphasis is. And yes, India is a key focus market.
What kind of categories will you be delving into, just to give me a teaser of sorts?
See, if you look at the three top religions in India, it is cricket, it is music, it is Bollywood. So that will be very natural spaces for us to be in. Plus, we're also looking at other areas. Like, for example, recently we have got into badminton. Now, when India had performed extremely well in the Asian Games, we said, hey, this is something which we should also really support that sport as well, which is not really entrenched in by many other brands. The clutter is much lesser. So we went into badminton. And then we also have got into golf, with the sponsorship of the Delhi Golf Tournament. So we got into that. So it's not like one-off sporadic. So we will see these three areas for sure: music, sports, and Bollywood. Or cinema more broadly than just Bollywood. That will definitely be there. And then we'll see opportunistically what else will fit into the overall fabric and try to really make our choices and then bring our strategies to life there.
On that note, thank you so much, Raja. I'm looking forward to what MasterCard does with this partnership. I'm sure it will be something that marketers would have to look out for and gain inspiration, given all the things that we've seen that MasterCard has dealt with in terms of different categories around the globe. We're excited to see what happens in India. Thank you so much, Raja, and hoping to see you soon when you visit India.